The sound of glass breaking should have been my first clue. It was a sharp crack, followed by muffled laughter, the kind that's meant to be hidden but slips out anyway. I turned my head just in time to see Jessica, my wife, clutching her wine glass, giggling at something on her phone. Her eyes flickered to mine, and for a split second, there was something in them. Not guilt, not fear, amusement. She turned away before I could process it, whispering something to her friend, Mia, who immediately stifled a laugh. I should have left the party right then. It was Jessica's birthday, a night meant for celebration. Our house was filled with people. Friends, family, co-workers, even a few unfamiliar faces that Jessica had insisted on inviting. The music was loud, the drinks were flowing, and everyone was in high spirits. Everyone except me. Something felt off. I noticed it in the way Jessica moved through the crowd, avoiding me but never looking like she was avoiding me. How she leaned in too close when talking to certain people. How Mia kept throwing me these strange glances, like she was in on some inside joke that I wasn't part of. And then there was the phone, always in her hand, always buzzing, always flipped downward. I walked over to the bar we'd set up in the kitchen, pouring myself a drink. That's when Megan, my ex-wife, appeared beside me. Yeah, you read that right. My ex-wife was at my wife's birthday party. Jessica had invited her. She thought it would be fun. A power move, she had called it, smirking. Megan and I had ended on good terms, but this was weird. Megan didn't waste time with small talk. She placed her glass on the counter, leaning in close. You need to wake up, she muttered. I frowned. What? She glanced toward Jessica, who was across the room, practically draped over some guy in a button-down. Her fingers lazily traced the rim of her wine glass while he whispered something in her ear. She laughed, tilting her head just slightly, exposing her neck in that way she used to do with me. Megan exhaled sharply. She's screwing someone else. The room around me slowed, stopped. I stared at her, waiting for the punchline, waiting for her to say she was joking, that this was some twisted attempt at getting under Jessica's skin. But Megan didn't blink. I know because... She hesitated. Because I put the idea in her head. I gripped the edge of the counter. What the hell does that mean? Megan looked away, ashamed. It was a stupid conversation we had a few months ago. I made some dumb comment about how men cheat all the time, how maybe women should do the same. I didn't think she'd actually take it seriously. I wanted to tell her she was wrong. That my wife wasn't like that. That Jessica, who used to cry at wedding vows and hold my hand under the dinner table, was incapable of something like this. But then I remembered the way Jessica had been acting. The secrets, the distance, the laughter, and the way she was touching him right now. I downed my drink in one swallow, my pulse hammering in my ears. Megan reached for my arm. You need to do something. I didn't answer. I was already moving. I moved through the crowd with one goal in mind, Jessica. The music thumped in my ears, the air thick with perfume, alcohol, and the kind of sweaty excitement that only a party on the verge of chaos has. My fingers curled into fists at my sides as I weaved between guests, ignoring the laughter, the clinking glasses, the small talk. Jessica was still at the bar, leaning against it like she didn't have a care in the world. Her drink dangled loosely from her fingers as she laughed at something he said. Who the hell was this guy? Tall, dark hair, annoyingly confident posture. His hand was resting casually on the small of her back. Too familiar, too comfortable. And Jessica? She wasn't pulling away. I reached them just as she threw her head back in laughter, her fingers brushing his arm. Jessica! She turned, blinking as if she'd only just noticed I was there. Babe! She said, her voice all honey and innocence. Are you having fun? I ignored the question. My eyes locked onto the man beside her. Who's this? The guy didn't flinch, didn't look guilty. He just smirked, like he was waiting for something. Jessica placed a hand on my chest. Relax, it's just... Answer the question. Something flickered in her eyes then. Annoyance. Not guilt. Annoyance. This is Ryan, she said finally, waving a lazy hand. We work together. Ryan extended a hand. Nice to meet you, man. I didn't shake it. He chuckled, dropping his hand like he expected that reaction.
No worries.
I turned back to Jessica, lowering my voice. Can we talk? Now. She sighed dramatically, like I had just ruined her fun. Babe, it's my birthday. Can't we do this later? No, we can't. Her lips pressed together. For a moment, we just stared at each other. A silent battle. Then, with a roll of her eyes, she grabbed my wrist and tugged me down the hallway, away from the noise. The second we were alone, she crossed her arms. Okay, what's the problem? I took a step closer, lowering my voice. Are you sleeping with him? She didn't even look shocked. Not angry, not defensive. Just irritated. Seriously? She scoffed. You're embarrassing yourself. Answer the damn question. She exhaled sharply, shaking her head. You've been talking to Megan, haven't you? My silence was all the answer she needed. Jessica let out a humorless laugh, running a hand through her hair. Unbelievable. My ex-wife is feeding you lies and you're just eating them up like a good little boy. My jaw clenched. She didn't lie, did she? Jessica rolled her eyes. I don't have time for this. She turned to leave, but I grabbed her wrist. Gently, but firmly enough to make her stop. You're not walking away from this. She whirled around, her eyes flashing. What do you want me to say, huh? That I'm screwing Ryan? That I've been sneaking around behind your back? Is that what you want to hear? My stomach twisted. Is it true? She smirked. Wouldn't you like to know? I inhaled sharply, my grip tightening. You're disgusting. Her expression didn't change. And you're pathetic. She yanked her arm free and walked back to the party, leaving me standing there, fists shaking, stomach churning, knowing, without a doubt now, that my wife was cheating on me. I stood in that hallway for what felt like forever. The music thumped against the walls. People laughed. Glasses clinked. But everything around me blurred into nothing. Jessica wasn't even trying to hide it. She didn't deny it, didn't panic, didn't even pretend to be offended. Instead, she mocked me. That smirk, that smug, taunting smirk burned into my brain. I needed proof. Megan's warning wasn't enough. Jessica's attitude wasn't enough. I needed something undeniable. Something I could throw in her face so she couldn't gaslight her way out of it. I wasn't going to play the clueless husband anymore. I pushed off the wall, took a deep breath, and walked back to the party. My mind was racing, but my face was calm. I scanned the crowd, searching. Then I saw him, Ryan. He was near the bar again, talking to Mia now. She was laughing, touching his arm, but his eyes flicked over to Jessica across the room. That's when I knew. That wasn't work-friend behavior. That wasn't just a guy at a party. That was the look of a man who had claimed something that wasn't his. Fine. Let's see how deep this hole goes. I made my way toward the coat closet in the hallway, slipping inside unnoticed. The party was still in full swing. No one was paying attention to me. Pulling out my phone, I opened Jessica's laptop. I knew her password. She wasn't exactly subtle. Our anniversary date. How romantic. I clicked into her messages first. Nothing. Clean. Too clean. Then I checked her email. And that's when I found it. A hotel confirmation. 2 nights ago. À suite. Paid for with our credit card. I clicked on the reservation details. One guest. The check-in time? Right around the same time Jessica had texted me. Working late, babe. Don't wait up, love. I sat there, staring at the screen, my pulse pounding in my ears. She didn't even bother using a fake name. Didn't even try to cover her tracks. My wife was cheating on me, and she didn't think I was smart enough to catch her. I took a screenshot, sent it to myself, and then checked her recent calls. Ryan. Over and over again. Late at night, early in the morning. Their last call? An hour before the party started. I felt something deep in my chest shift from pain to something colder. Sharper. Fine. If she wanted to play games, I'd show her just how good I was at them. I stood in that hallway for what felt like forever. The music thumped against the walls. People laughed. Glasses clinked. But everything around me blurred into nothing. Jessica wasn't even trying to hide it. She didn't deny it, didn't panic, didn't even pretend to be offended. Instead, she mocked me. That smirk, that smug, taunting smirk burned into my brain. I needed proof. Megan's warning wasn't enough. Jessica's attitude wasn't enough. I needed something undeniable. Something I could throw in her face so she couldn't gaslight her way out of it. I wasn't going to play the clueless husband anymore. I pushed off the wall, took a deep breath, and walked back to the party. My mind was racing, but my face was calm. I scanned the crowd, searching. Then I saw him, Ryan. He was near the bar again, talking to Mia now. She was laughing, touching his arm, but his eyes flicked over to Jessica across the room. That's when I knew. That wasn't work friend behavior. That wasn't just a guy at a party. That was the look of a man who had claimed something that wasn't his. Fine. Let's see how deep this hole goes. I made my way toward the coat closet in the hallway, slipping inside unnoticed. The party was still in full swing. No one was paying attention to me. Pulling out my phone, I opened Jessica's laptop. I knew her password. She wasn't exactly subtle. Our anniversary date. How romantic. I clicked into her messages first. Nothing. Clean. Too clean. Then I checked her email. And that's when I found it. A hotel confirmation. 2 nights ago. À suite. Paid for with our credit card. I clicked on the reservation details. One guest. The check-in time? Right around the same time Jessica had texted me. Working late, babe. Don't wait up, love. I sat there, staring at the screen, my pulse pounding in my ears. She didn't even bother using a fake name. Didn't even try to cover her tracks. My wife was cheating on me, and she didn't think I was smart enough to catch her. I took a screenshot, sent it to myself, and then checked her recent calls. Ryan. Over and over again. Late at night, early in the morning. Their last call? An hour before the party started. I felt something deep in my chest shift from pain to something colder. Sharper. Fine. If she wanted to play games, I'd show her just how good I was at them. That I stepped out of the coat closet feeling like a different man. The fool I had been an hour ago, the clueless, trusting husband, was gone. Jessica thought she was untouchable. She thought I'd never catch on. She was wrong. The party was still in full swing, but now, it felt like nothing more than background noise to what was about to happen. My fingers tightened around my phone as I made my way back to the kitchen, locking eyes with the one person who had been on my side all along. Megan. She was leaning against the counter, watching me, a knowing look in her eyes. The moment I reached her, she tilted her head slightly. You found something, didn't you? I didn't answer. I didn't need to. I simply turned my phone around and showed her the hotel reservation. Her lips parted slightly. Wow. She didn't even bother hiding it. Because she didn't think she had to, I said quietly. Megan exhaled, shaking her head. So, what's the plan? I looked past her, scanning the room until my eyes landed on Jessica and Ryan. They were standing too close again. Jessica had a fresh drink in her hand, and Ryan was whispering something in her ear. She laughed. That laugh that used to be mine. I turned back to Megan. She wants a show? Let's give her one. Megan's eyebrows lifted slightly, but then a slow, amused smirk spread across her lips. Oh, I'm all in. I moved first, cutting through the crowd until I was standing directly behind Jessica. Close enough that when I spoke, she jumped. Enjoying yourself? She turned, blinking in surprise before regaining her composure. Of course. You should try it sometime. Ryan took a sip of his drink, not even pretending to feel awkward about my presence. Bold. I nodded, pretending to think. Yeah, maybe I should. I mean, it's not like I have anything to stress about, right? I have a loving wife, a beautiful home. I turned my phone screen toward her, tilting it just enough so Ryan could see too. A wife who books hotel suites for one. Silence. Jessica's smile twitched. A flicker of something crossed her face, but she was fast. Too fast. Wow, she said, laughing lightly. You really are pathetic. Ryan shifted beside her. I ignored him. Say something else, Jessica. Say something that makes this make sense. She downed the rest of her drink and then shrugged. Fine. You caught me. So what? So what? I stared at her, something in my chest burning hotter than before. So what? I repeated, voice lower now. That's what you have to say? Jessica set her glass down on the bar with a sharp clink. You think I owe you some big dramatic confession? That I'm going to cry and beg for forgiveness? She laughed. No, babe. You're not that important. I had never felt rage like this before, but I didn't let it show. Instead, I turned slightly, just enough so everyone near the bar could hear me. Did you know, I said, my voice conversational, that my wife is so generous that she uses our credit card to book a luxury suite? For one. A few people nearby went quiet. Good. Jessica's face darkened. Don't do this. I smiled. Do what? Tell the truth. Ryan stepped forward. All right, man. I think you've made your... I held up a hand, stopping him.
No, no, I'm curious.
Ryan, how was the suite? Jessica inhaled sharply. Ryan went completely still. And there it was. The confirmation I needed. A ripple of whispers spread through the people closest to us. Mia, Jessica's best friend, looked between them, her mouth slightly open. Jessica clenched her jaw. You're making a scene. I stepped closer, lowering my voice so only she could hear. You made this scene, Jessica. I'm just finishing it. She glared at me, but for the first time all night, she looked nervous. Megan appeared beside me, smiling sweetly. Jessica, honey, I think you should say something. Everyone's watching. And for the first time since this night started, Jessica had nothing to say. The party had turned. The air was different now, charged, buzzing, dangerous. The music still played, but nobody was dancing. The voices were lower, sharper. People were watching, waiting. Jessica had spent the entire night treating me like a joke. Like a fool. But now the joke was on her. She turned, her gaze sweeping over the silent onlookers. Mia was whispering furiously to someone, eyes flicking between Jessica and Ryan. A few people were murmuring, piecing things together. Jessica exhaled, rolling her shoulders like she could shake the tension off. Fine, she said finally. You really want to do this here? I tilted my head. Oh, you mean in front of all these people? The same people you had no problem flaunting your little affair in front of. Ryan shifted beside her. He had the look of a man who had just realized he walked straight into a trap. Good. Jessica's lips curled into something that was supposed to be a smirk. But there was something else underneath it now. Something cracking. You want a confession? She said, stepping closer. Fine. You win. Yes, I cheated. Yes, I slept with Ryan. Are you happy now? A sharp gasp from somewhere in the crowd. Ryan visibly tensed. Clearly, he wasn't expecting her to throw him under the bus that fast. But I didn't react. Didn't even blink. I just looked at her. Really looked at her. This was the woman I had loved. The woman I had built a life with. The woman I had trusted. And she was standing in front of me, throwing her own marriage into the fire without a second thought. Jessica's eyes narrowed. She wanted me to break. She wanted me to yell, to get angry, to embarrass myself in front of everyone. Instead, I smiled. Thank you. Jessica faltered. What? I took my phone out, tapped the screen a few times, and turned the volume all the way up. Then I pressed play. You caught me. So what? Jessica's voice, her own words, rang through the silent room. Clear, sharp, undeniable. A few people gasped. Mia's hand flew to her mouth. Ryan took a slow step away from Jessica. Jessica's face went pale. You recorded it? I finished for her. Yeah, I did. You thought you were in control of this, didn't you? Her mouth opened, closed, opened again. She had nothing. For the first time, she had nothing. I turned to Ryan, who was looking very much like a man who regretted every decision he had made. You should probably go. Ryan hesitated. Then, without a word, he set his drink down and walked out. Jessica spun to him. Are you serious? You're leaving. Ryan didn't even turn around. Jessica had officially lost everything. I looked around the room. Everyone was still watching. Jessica's parents stood near the staircase, her mother shaking her head in disappointment. Mia, her so-called best friend, wasn't rushing to defend her. Nobody was. Jessica turned back to me, eyes blazing. You set me up. I took a step forward, lowering my voice. You destroyed this marriage. I just made sure you couldn't lie your way out of it. Her hands clenched into fists. She was breathing hard now, trapped. I leaned in, just enough for only her to hear. Happy birthday, sweetheart. Then I turned and walked out the door. And I didn't look back. The cold air outside slapped me in the face, but it wasn't nearly as chilling as the realization settling in my bones. This was over. Not just the party. Not just the fight. My marriage. I heard the door swing open behind me, fast and heavy. I didn't even have to turn around to know it was her. Jessica. She stomped down the steps, her heels clicking aggressively against the pavement. You think you're so damn smart, don't you? She hissed. I exhaled through my nose, turning slowly. She looked unhinged now. Angry, desperate, humiliated. Her perfectly styled hair was slightly messy from the chaos inside. Her lipstick smudged from drinking too much. I didn't think I was smart, I said calmly. I just knew you were sloppy. Her nostrils flared. You ruined everything. I actually laughed.
No, Jessica.
You did that all by yourself. She scoffed, shaking her head. You're so dramatic. God, you act like I murdered someone. It was just a little fun. You really couldn't handle that. Just a little fun. Our marriage was a joke to her. I clenched my jaw, my hands tightening at my sides. You're unbelievable. She took a step closer, her eyes burning with something dangerous. You know what your problem is? You never knew how to keep me interested. That should have hurt. A week ago it probably would have. But now I felt nothing. I tilted my head. Is that why Ryan just walked out on you? Jessica's lips parted slightly, and for a moment, just a moment, I saw it. The crack in her confidence. The realization that she had lost. But she recovered quickly, scoffing like she didn't care. I don't need Ryan. I nodded. You're right. You don't. Because you'll just move on to the next guy dumb enough to fall for your act. Jessica blinked. And for the first time all night, she actually looked hurt. I didn't feel bad. Not even a little. We're done, I said finally. You can keep the house. I don't want it anymore. But don't think for a second I'm letting you screw me over in the divorce. Jessica crossed her arms. You think you get to just walk away from me? I smiled, stepping closer, lowering my voice. I already did. Then I turned, walking toward my car. I expected her to scream, to curse at me, to throw one last insult my way. But instead, she said nothing. I got in, started the engine, and pulled away. I never saw Jessica again. The house felt different when I returned to it the next day. It wasn't home anymore. The smell of last night's party still lingered. Spilled alcohol, burnt candles, and the faint trace of Jessica's perfume. The place was trashed, half-empty glasses on the counters, confetti crushed into the carpet. But Jessica? She was nowhere to be found. Good. I walked through the house slowly, letting the reality sink in. This was the last time I'd ever be here as her husband. Then I got to work. Jessica wanted to play games? I'd end them. The first thing I did was cancel all our joint credit cards. Every single one. Jessica had always loved the finer things. Spa days, designer clothes, overpriced brunches with her friends. All funded by me. Well, not anymore. The second thing I did was freeze our joint bank account. Jessica had been draining it for months, spending money like we were royalty. She was about to find out what life without my paycheck looked like. And the third thing? The house. I had told her she could keep it. Elite. The mortgage was in my name. I had paid for it. So, before Jessica could even think about trying to claim it, I listed it for sale. Let her figure out where to live next. Then, for the final touch, I went into our shared closet and pulled out a shoebox from the top shelf. Inside were old love letters. Notes Jessica had written me back when she actually pretended to care. I took them out, replaced them with printouts of the hotel receipt, screenshots of her texts with Ryan, and a copy of our bank statements showing her little shopping sprees. Then, I left it right in the middle of our bed. Parting gift. Let her sit with that. By the time I was done, I felt lighter, like a weight had been lifted off me. I grabbed my bag, walked out the front door, and never looked back. Jessica had set this fire. I just let it burn. A week passed before I heard from Jessica again. I was staying at a hotel, waiting for the house sale to go through, when my phone lit up with her name. I almost didn't answer. Almost. But curiosity got the better of me. I slid my thumb across the screen and leaned back in my chair. Jessica, you absolute piece of garbage. I smiled. There it is. She was furious. Her voice shook, but not from sadness. From pure, unfiltered rage. You froze our accounts? She screeched. Do you have any idea what you've done? Yeah, I said calmly. I made sure you'd never spend another cent of my money again. She let out a bitter laugh. You're so petty. I should have left you first. I raised an eyebrow. Jessica, you weren't exactly hiding your affair. You didn't even try to cover your tracks. Because I didn't think I had to, she snapped. And there it was. The real truth. Jessica had never thought she'd lose. She never thought I'd be the one to walk away. You thought I'd just sit there and take it, didn't you? I said, shaking my head. That I'd keep paying for your life while you ran around behind my back? Oh, don't act like you're some victim, she hissed. You were boring. You stopped being exciting. Ryan actually made me feel wanted. I smirked. And yet, he still walked out on you the second things got messy. Silence. Gotcha. Good luck paying rent, Jessica. Screw you, she spat, voice shrill now. You think you won? You're gonna be alone and miserable. While I hung up, because nothing she said mattered anymore. A month later, I finalized the sale of the house. The money went straight into my personal account. Jessica didn't see a single dime. She was out. Permanently. Megan called me not long after. Apparently, Jessica had been couch surfing, begging Mia to let her stay at her place. Mia refused. Ryan blocked her number. Her friends stopped answering her calls. Turns out, when your entire personality is built on being the center of attention, people don't stick around when you become an embarrassment. As for me, I moved into a new place, started fresh. No reminders of Jessica. No old memories haunting the halls. I wasn't miserable. I was free. And that was the best revenge of all.